Phillip Schofield today has said that there was no toxicity at This Morning, and that if anyone is saying anything negative about the management on that show, it's simply because you have some sort of vendetta. What's your response to him?
My response is he's either deluded or he's lying, and he has admitted he tells lies, and he tells a lot of lies. And in life, I've always had this belief that a lie unchallenged becomes the truth. So although I don't want to stand up to Schofield constantly pointing out where he's lying, I feel I have to. Is he delusional? Does he imagine or is he so detached from real life at This Morning that he didn't realise what was going on? I often say this to Ruth. I said, maybe he believes all this stuff. Maybe he did not see what went on actually because there's something wrong with him. But he is the chief narcissist. He is a complete and utter dyed-in-the-wool narcissist. Everything is about him. And last week when he issued the statement, which we, the press, are guilty of reporting and accepting, where he said, I have decided to step back. I mean, honestly, it makes me laugh. And people report that. Phillip Schofield has decided to step back, like heck he has. And then Holly Willoughby responds with, the couch will seem so empty without him. Well, she should be dancing on the couch because that's what she was looking for forever. So do these people take the public for fools? Answer, yes, they do. And I understand that by me speaking out, a lot of people don't like it because a lot of people remember them both as child TV presenters, and they grew up with them. And people, quite honestly, can't handle the truth. All I'm here to do is to speak for people who hadn't got a voice, people who were gagged either legally or by actions that were taken within the production team. And I'm speaking up on behalf of them. Dan, my phone is overflowing with texts and messages of of people who are saying, well done, Eamonn, well for speaking, people who worked on the programme. And I phone them back and I say, but it's not me that people want to hear from, because it looks like people try and make out, you're bitter, you were complicit, you knew this, you knew that, why didn't you do something? I didn't know anything. I heard some rumours. Where were you going to go to with these rumours? Who? You know, everyone was team Phillip and Holly, and they were there together, they were seen together, they were the brand. And let's all remember, and anybody can check this up, the figures on This Morning do not change no matter who presents the programme.
Sometimes they were even higher on a Friday.
Sometimes with a certain husband and wife, they were higher. And the thing is, that's all that counts really, bringing in the money at ITV. So you then go back, why were there no changes? Why was there no retribution? Because of the management around them, the people who tolerated these things that went on. And when there was talk of Phillip having a relationship with a young man, that young man was, in inverted commas, promoted. He didn't seek promotion, didn't ask for promotion. Promotion, I hadn't ever heard, and I'd like ITV to produce the records where people were promoted from This Morning to another programme, because it would have been a very rare occurrence if it happened. So he was promoted against his will onto another programme, Loose Women.
Exactly. So when that happened, and that happened in 2018, what did you know about this young man? Because he was there a lot. He's been pictured on the sofa as a very young teenager sitting in between Holly Willoughby and Phillip Schofield. And then I remember working at ITV Daytime, and he was a non-negotiable part of Phillip's life. Sometimes there would even be taxis ferrying this young man between the studio and Phillip's house. So what did you know about him before he was moved on to Loose Women?
I didn't know, but I've subsequently found out from a very, very good source, because he would arrive much earlier in the morning than I would for the programme, that he was delivered from Phillip's London home, usually on a Friday morning, because Thursday was playtime when he and Phillip would hit the town. And then he obviously stayed overnight, and there are records to show that he was brought in the next day separately.
In cars paid for by ITV?
In cars paid for by ITV.
So the management would have had to have known about that, wouldn't they?
Unless Philip paid the bill separately, but it would still have to go through the accounts office that they would have seen that and known that. And this lad, lovely fella, really good, talented fella. Ruth and I particularly looked after him. He never once talked to us about any relationship, but we knew he was in a bad way. He was in a bad way, fragilely.
Is this once he'd been moved to Loose Women?
No, before that. And he seemed to go through a lot of money in his life, and we would use him for other jobs and help him, and he was always very, very reliable, but he needed a lot of money in his life for whatever reason.
And so then he is moved to Loose Women amid some sort of fallout with Phillip Schofield. What did you know about it before that night at the National Television Awards, where it seemed to burst into common knowledge?
The only thing I ever knew was that, they're very close, Philip's his boyfriend, whatever. The lad would never admit anything like that to us. We never overly asked him, but what I do know is he would particularly seek comfort. You know, he would phone often. I remember my 60th birthday, and I was in Belfast, and he phoned Ruth, and Ruth handed the phone to me, and he was very close to Ruth, and we never intruded into what was wrong. We just asked him if he was okay, if he needed help, if he needed support, and we were there if he wanted that. But he just felt very alone, and that no one was looking after him, really. But what he really was saying was that there was press attention and pressure on him.
Yes. And one of the problems, and I think a lot of people don't know this, is that this colleague at that point was a straight man as well, which was a complicated factor in terms of he hadn't opened up to people in his own life about his sexuality, which made it particularly difficult for him.
Well, again, it's so confusing. I don't know if he was straight, if he was gay, what was going on. No one knew if Philip was straight or gay. We just knew that he was married. But what was happened is that everything at ITV was geared towards making Philip and Holly happy.
Yeah.
So no one else counted. No one else counted. And you know, I could read you various things from people, and you know what they say about things. Someone sent me this message last night. Hello, Eamonn. I hope you and Ruth are well. Just wanted to tell you that the whole Phillip Schofield scandal has actually given many This Morning staff the courage to finally speak out. I left this morning with a payout, and I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement to cover up the bullying and power abuse. All these years later, and she states how many years these are, I now feel I have the courage to talk about this, and it appears I am not alone. And so the story goes on and on and on. And they also say, so many of us comment that working on a Friday show with you and Ruth was so different than during the week, and you were always there for help and advice. So we were there for help and advice, and that's what we did because we were real and we weren't looking for anything in return. And we were there to educate and show people how to produce a program or write a script, or you know, be involved in what we were all supposed to do and do better. I wasn't looking anything in return. Ruth wasn't looking anything in return, but it appears others were.
So this young colleague is moved on to Loose Women. And for the Loose Women, and I know because I've spoken to them personally, I know this puts you in a difficult situation because, of course, you're married to
a loose woman.
A loose woman who is a presenter of the show and still works on ITV. But I can tell you, Eamonn, a lot of the Loose Women who I spoke to felt very uncomfortable about the fact that this young colleague who was having an affair with Phillip Schofield and was deeply troubled at this point had been moved on to their show because it was almost like the management was saying, this guy is your problem now. We're taking him away from This Morning and he's your problem.
And I think that should be asked why that unprecedented move was authorised, who authorised it and why they authorised it. As for the Loose Women, in the year that you're talking about, the panel that existed, I would say there was probably a minority of one who actually liked Phillip Schofield. One loose woman of 10 or 12 or whatever. And where I think is fine, people like me talking, people like Amanda Holden, who's been very, very brave throughout all of this as well, talking, and then people abusing me. What are you talking for? You were as bad, you must have known. You know, all I can say is, I am a good person. I know I'm a good person. I don't need people to criticize me. I'm there, I'm helpful. I will give people love. I will give people tough love. I will give them an education in this broadcasting business, whatever they want. But I'm not looking for anything in return.
But you did try, and you and Ruth both did try, because it was reported back in November 2019 that Ruth was actually the loose women who made a formal complaint to the head of ITV Daytime.
But that's because he was so rude. This nonsense that he wrote today about toxicity, about it's the happy place and whatever. Holy God. What planet does this man live on? He created an atmosphere where people hated him. The people would avoid him in the corridor. He didn't look at anybody, didn't know anybody's name. Holly doesn't know people's names either. This is legendary within the production team,
yes, it is.
that how distant they are and how they just don't care. And I think what I would like now is if a few of the loosed women, if certain executives are moved, maybe they'll have the courage to tell the truth about what it is. But he was so rude to so dismissive of the loose women. He had to do this this handover between programmes, saying what was coming on next, handing the baton over, as the executive called it. And the longer this went on, the less this gave the last item on the programme. Now, if you were any good as a presenter, you would deal with that. So your 5 minutes would become 4 minutes 45 or 4 minutes 30 or whatever it is, but it's up to you to duck and dive and deal and cut the intro and ask less questions and whatever. But he's so systematic about things, it appears, in terms of rudeness. So he would be rude to Ruth. Why are we doing this for, basically? Why are we talking to loose women for? And they felt very demeaned by the whole thing. To the point was, I know the one loose woman that would have supported them, and she would do that because that made her, she liked mixing in circles where she thought would open doors for her. And they're always seen. I mean, this other nonsense that goes on, that Holly Willoughby now has Alison Hammond as her best friend and is at Alison Hammond's birthday party, and Alison Hammond goes to Holly Willoughby select nights out with her friends. This wouldn't have happened 2 years ago. Are you kidding? Alison Hammond's been on that programme 13 years, and I'm sure there was very little contact between her and the presenters. But then it all changed. People just use other people. It's disgusting, and it's tolerated.
I had gone to the senior bosses at ITV, people who work for Carolyn McCall, the chief executive, very closely in November 2019 with the story of Philip having this inappropriate relationship with the young man, and had urged them to investigate, because why, at the very least, would you not investigate? I wasn't saying that Philip was guilty of anything. I was saying you should launch an investigation. And for
the protection of the young man.
Absolutely. And I was told that I was spreading malicious gossip, and that was the statement in which they gave me.
Well, I was told that there was a thorough investigation after that, which involved the following. Philip, are you having a relationship with this guy? Nope. Hello, this guy, are you having a relationship with Philip? Nope. Investigation over. 2 questions. That's how we believe it was. But yet, there was an overriding more than suspicion that there was something going on, and to protect our brand and to protect our advertising and protect our Philip, let's just move this guy out of here. Let's promote him.
And have Philip come out as gay, so that if it ever does come out in the future, at least he wasn't cheating on his wife.
It's a delusion, it's an illusion, the whole thing is...
But isn't it a cover-up?
Yes, it's a total cover-up. It's a total cover-up. Those in authority had to know. They had to know what was going on, and they thought they would dodge a bullet with this, which they do, and they do constantly. Because with Schofield talking about those who speak out against him, namely me, Amanda Holden, and you'll be included in the toxicity that goes on.
Dr. Ange too.
Dr. Ange, of course, as well. And you simply sit there and think, no, mate, you've had it all your way for too long. And the other thing is, can I just say on behalf of established senior presenters, of which I'm more senior than he is, he's not rated. So why we all wonder why, when you look and you say, who are magnificent presenters? Gabby Logan, Desmond Lynam, Jeff Stelling. You can go on, Dan Walker. You can look at people who are really, really good at what they do. And you go and you ask and you say, what about Schofield? Nobody rates him. He can't read autocue. He's big, wide eyes. He shouts when he speaks like that. He's rude to everybody around him, as has been, Nadine Dorris has talked about this as well, and various other people on your
program.
So
why were they out to protect him?
Why? This is the question you've got to ask.
And you were obviously asking lots of difficult questions, but so soon after that moment of landmark television where there you are introducing Phillip coming out as gay, you're told by ITV that you're out and that you're going to lose that Friday segment.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Without warning.
And do you think Phillip was involved in that decision?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'd be speculating there, but I do think this decision could have been taken to protect him by Emma Gormley, head of daytime programmes, or Dame EasyJet, Carolyn McCall, the Queen of Woke. You see, this is from a station that she purports to be #be kind, full of lies. They were never kind to me. They weren't kind when they tossed me out the door, care where I was going. And their press office, the Ministry of Lies, as I call them, that press office is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Eamonn has signed for GB News. Bye-bye. I hadn't signed for GB News. I'd still got a contract with this morning. Hadn't signed anything. They released it to the Daily Mirror. They put the story out there that that's what I had done. And watch this. The default setting for the press office at ITV is, here's a question for you. Their answer, say nothing. They think they can get by everything by saying nothing. A weak explanation this week. Say something, say something. Did we investigate Phillip had a lover or he was having an affair or not? Get something out there. Yes, we had a thorough investigation. Well, I'd like to see the records of the thorough investigation, and was it more than 2 questions?
Well, surely now there has to be an independent investigation because ITV have proven they can't investigate themselves. They got it wrong.
I think Phillip is absolutely right about toxicity. But my friend, the toxicity is not with me, Dan Wootton, or anyone else. The toxicity is with you and your mates in management and everybody who kept you in power and in abusive power for so long. And if I'm guilty of anything, it's speaking up for all those researchers who you ignored, all those producers who you treated like dirt, all those people who are texting and phoning me and Dan Wootton and saying, we feel now empowered to come out and tell the public the truth. Because the truth is, the public can't handle the truth. The public don't want, they think you're a little broom cupboard person and they grew up with you and you're lovely and you're adorable and whatever. But you let your fame and your power corrupt you. And that's where we're at today. And if I'm guilty of anything, it's guilty of exposing you.
Do you fear now for your future in the industry?
I
for
think
Ruth's future at ITV?
Well, I think they're... Listen, TV doesn't like people who don't toe the line. And there'd be a certain... I mean, I will tell you this. I know more about TV than most of them. I, know my limitations. I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. I know what I can do. There's very few jobs that I'd ever say that I couldn't do. I'm no threat to anyone, but I do think that abuse has got to be called out.
Do you think there could be more revelations about Phillip Schofield?
Well, I sit and I wonder, why did Phillip Schofield give a statement to the Daily Mail that he lied? He lied to his agents, he lied to ITV, he lied to his colleagues, he lied. Why suddenly change his tune? And if he lied once, he'll lie again. You know, my father always said, you can watch a thief, but you can't watch a liar. And you don't know what's fact and what's fiction with him. I think you can't believe a word he says. I believe his career, you ask me, is my career finished in TV? I wouldn't like to think so. I think people would like to look at me and think, look, I mightn't like Eamonn Holmes as a presenter, but I can trust him. And I think he's telling the truth here. And I think he's an honest, honourable man. Phillip Schofield, if you think that about him, I think you're a bit deluded.
Are you still in touch with the young colleague, and is he doing okay?
I'm not. Ruth is. I think life's tough for him. And I asked why Schofield put that statement out. And I would say that suddenly you ask a question about that young colleague and you're faced with top London lawyers who will be many thousands an hour to pay for. Well, I know this guy hasn't got that money to pay for that.
And I guess he's the person who needs to be looked after in all of this, right?
Well, there's a incredible duty of care that should go with that young man. But this #BeKind company don't seem to care when people harm themselves or commit suicide through their programs. So why would they care about people who are not known behind scenes? Not only should Phillip go, but Holly should follow him close out the door. I don't think you will ever see Holly Willoughby back on the couch. There are people who say, this for her, it's not about what Phillip did. For her, it's not about protecting the young fella involved or whatever. There are people who are financial experts who will say this is about brand protection with her. She's got her company and she's got advertising deals, which suspiciously looks like she's trying to distance herself from Phillip to protect those.
Eamonn Holmes, thank you so much for speaking out.
Thank you very much indeed.
An ITV spokesperson said in response further to our statement on Saturday, ITV can confirm that when rumours of a relationship between Phillip Schofield and an employee of ITV first began to circulate in early 2020, ITV investigated. Both parties were questioned and both categorically and repeatedly denied the rumours, as did Phillip's then agency YMU. In addition, ITV spoke to a number of people who worked on This Morning and were not provided with and did not find any evidence of a relationship beyond hearsay and rumour. Phillip's statement on Friday reveals that he lied to people at ITV, from senior management to fellow presenters to YMU to the media and to others, over this relationship.